How are you expanding your knowledge and education this year? In this episode, I share 10 books to read this year. Hi everyone, I'm Jessica, and I love talking about financial freedom after experiencing burnout early on in my pharmacist career. On this channel, I talk about passive income and simplifying to combat feelings of burnout and stress in your life. I also share openly about my own burnout story and how we paid off massive student loan debt on our way towards financial independence to retire early. Make sure to watch those videos as well. I've talked about my love of reading in the past, but I've never really shared an episode of some of the books I highly recommend reading. So I'm going to focus on 10 of my favorites in this episode. This is because I really believe in continual learning and bringing something new into our lives each and every day. I really challenge you to read 10 minutes a day. Yes, if you're not a reader, maybe this sounds really daunting and you want to start with 5 minutes a day or 1 page a day. And if we want to start somewhere, let's just start. And we can build up momentum as it adds value and joy into our lives. And I love incorporating this into my evening routine where I'm shutting down all my devices, turning off my phone, putting it on Do Not Disturb, and then sitting down with a book in bed to unwind at the end of the day. And I really love physical books, but I also highly recommend using your public library for free resources and borrowing books or getting them from your Buy Nothing groups or little free library resources. If you're looking for ways to add books to your life, I'm also going to link my favorite books in the description below if you like new copies of these books as well. If you'd also like to think about how you're incorporating reading into your evening routine and want to learn more about the importance of an evening routine, make sure to check out the episode below. The first book, The Miracle Morning by Hal Elrod. And this is a great book, especially if you are not a morning person. I typically would say I'm not a morning person, and I've fluctuated during my life where I'm getting up super early for the intensive care unit and my work as a critical care pharmacist, and then I'm sleeping in later for my work in other settings. And it's something that if you really want to be intentional, get the most out of your day and feel really accomplished, the Miracle Morning can be a great start to start incorporating a few minutes of your day into an intentional morning routine. And it's something that I'm a big advocate for. If you've never heard about morning routines, I'll also link that episode below as well. The next few books are financial well-being books. And as you know, on this channel, I love talking about financial freedom and well-being and being able to really educate us on financial education. I read over 20 books last year on the financial education world and really got different perspectives. So 3 of my favorite reads are The Psychology of Money by Maureen Housel. And this is a great read to really understand, our money mindset and how we think about money and how we think about wealth here in the United States. The next is The Simple Path to Wealth by J.L. Collins. And I really love the simplicity of this book. It really gets straight to the point and gives you tangible advice to really start applying to your life right away. And you're able to understand index funds and how to long-term invest and how to hold and wait for that wealth accumulation and that compound interest accumulation. And it's something that I always highly recommend if you want to follow a really simple blueprint to start with this book. The next book is The Great Rat Race Escape by M.J. DeMarco. And he's written a few different financial well-being books. And this was my particular favorite because it really talks about, how we are really committing ourselves to corporate life and our 9-to-5s and relying on them so much, and societal and cultural expectations of how we actually live our lives, especially as millennials. And I think this is a great way to really wake up and see how we're actually using our time and our wealth generation and how we can incorporate our small businesses and entrepreneurship into those ideas. If you'd like to learn more about the financial well-being books that I also recommend, you can get the full links below. The next book is The Life/Throwaway by Tara Button. And as you know, over the past 5 years, I've really worked intentionally to reduce our environmental footprint in our household, whether that's been converting over to products that use less plastic and less waste in their packaging and consumption, or just making sure that we are not contributing to landfills as much as possible. And I think this is a great wake-up call for anyone who is really into fast fashion and buying and consuming and throwing away really quickly. And it's something that I think has really seeped into the American lifestyle in this way that is really unintentional and really bad for our environment. So this can be a great book to read to really have that reset in our lives, see how we can borrow, upcycle, reuse different types of things, and make sure that we're reducing our impact on the environment, because there is no plan B for the planet. This is our planet, and if we would like it to be healthy for the next generation or the upcoming generations, we need to take care of it now. Next up is Start With Why by Simon Sinek. And if you've been following me for a while, you know that I love Simon Sinek's work. He has several different books that I highly recommend reading, and it's his method that I've incorporated into the Burnout Doctor method, where we're really starting with the why and the clarify step of living our why, our values, and our purpose before we ever jump into simplifying and work-life alignment. And I think that oftentimes this is a really overlooked step to have that clarity in our lives. And anytime we have that clarity, it will really help us reduce the decision fatigue, really make intentional decisions based on our value statements and our life purpose. The next book is Mindset by Carol Dweck. I think this is a book that all students and all educators need to read. I also think it's really important for parents to read as well. It was really eye-opening when I learned about the growth mindset versus the fixed mindset, and how we can ebb and flow between the two, and how we can be really intentional about the words we use and how we educate and how we, parent children towards, their growth mindset. And I think this is really important to realize, because I grew up in a very fixed mindset world. I had no idea at the time. My parents had no idea that they were doing anything wrong, because there wasn't as much research out then. And it's something that I think is really helpful for educators, parents, and children to understand, so that they can see the potential in themselves and can learn from their mistakes and their opportunities. The next is Soulful Simplicity by Courtney Carver. And Courtney, if you're not familiar with her, shares a really intimate story about her own personal life and her own journey. And it can be really inspiring to see how living simply can really change your life for the better, and how we can find joy in this. And if you want some inspiration and you want some storytelling behind it, I highly recommend this book. The next two books are a little bit newer books that you might not be as familiar with. The first one being Atlas of the Heart by Brené Brown. And I love a lot of Brené Brown's books, and this is one of her newest books, Atlas of the Heart, and it really dives deeper into some of the discussions. And I think that if you already enjoy a lot of her work, this is going to be a great addition to your library. Last but not least is Social Justice Parenting by Dr. Tracy Baxley. And I love that this book is finally out in the world. I've known Dr. Baxley the last few years through entrepreneur groups, and she's reaching beyond the classroom as a professor to really share her advice with the world. And this book is a must read for all parents. It's really talking about how to raise compassionate, anti-racist children, justice-minded children, and I think that you're going to take away a lot of resources, a lot of steps to implement in your own life. Those were 10 books I recommend reading this year. I would love to hear what you are currently reading, what you recommend, and what would you add to this list for all of us in our community to read together. Thank you again, and please like this video. Please subscribe to the channel for weekly advice, and make sure to download your Burnout Starter Kits, your Financial Freedom Starter Kits below. Until next time, cultivate joy.